Have you ever felt like you're fighting a battle within yourself? Well, you're not alone. Way back, we're talking over 5,000 years ago, a warrior prince named Arjuna faced the ultimate dilemma on a literal battlefield. And what's crazy is the advice he got back then, it's just as powerful for us right now. So today, we're going to dive into this explainer on the Bhagavad Gita, and we're looking at it through the lens of the book Bhagavad Gita Decoded. We're going to unpack how this ancient wisdom, this song of the divine, gives us a real practical technique for living a complete and powerful life.
Now, these questions on the screen, they're not just some deep philosophical head-scratchers. The book says these are the exact same questions that hit Arjuna. I mean, picture this. He's on the edge of this massive war, totally frozen by doubt and despair, and he's just begging his charioteer, who happens to be Krishna, for some answers. And don't these questions just hit home for us today? You know how it is. We hustle, we get stuff done, but that real deep feeling of fulfillment, it always seems to be just around the corner, right? So what is going on here? What's at the heart of this struggle?
Well, the book boils it all down to one single powerful word: incompletion. And it's described as, get this, being stuck in a hangover from the past. I love that analogy. Just think about it for a second. That old hurt, that nagging regret, that one failure you can't shake. When we let that stuff run the show in our present moment, what happens? We can't really listen. We definitely can't act with any clarity. And we just end up creating, you guessed it, more incompletion. It's this nasty, vicious cycle that leaves us feeling totally powerless.
Okay, so how do we break out of this? First things first, we've got to understand the battlefield that's actually inside our own heads. And what the source does so brilliantly here is it takes this epic story, the Mahabharata, and says, hey, this isn't some dusty old history book. No, it's a living, breathing metaphor for the story of your life.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how it reframes the so-called villains of the story. Turns out the Kauravas aren't just bad guys out there somewhere. They're actually symbols for our own inner demons. So you've got King Dhritarashtra, right? He was literally blind. Well, he represents our own blindness to our potential. That's self-doubt. Then there's his son, Duryodhana. He stands for self-denial. That stubborn, I refuse to see the truth part of us. And that super cunning uncle, Shakuni, he's the little voice of self-hatred whispering in our ear. And according to the book, these root patterns, they are the very things that make us feel so powerless.
All right, so we've met the bad guys inside us. The big question is, how do we fight them? Well, the amazing thing about the Gita is that it doesn't just point out the problem. It actually lays out a clear path to victory, a journey to what the book calls completion. And here's the game plan, right on this slide. The source says we fight back against those inner demons by activating 4 superpowers we already have. First up is integrity. That means actually doing what you say you're going to do for yourself and for others. Next, authenticity. This is all about being your best self, operating from your highest potential. Then you've got responsibility. This one's big. It's about owning the fact that you're the source of what happens in your life. And finally, enriching. This is about taking all that power and using it to make a positive impact on the world around you.
So, just like the villains are inside us, guess what? So are the heroes. The Pandava brothers, they're the personification of these awesome powers. You have Dharmaraja, the king. He is integrity. The super strong Bhima, he's all about authenticity, living at his absolute peak. And of course, Arjuna, our main guy, he embodies responsibility. That's the mindset of a real leader. And again, remember, these aren't just characters in some old tale. They are parts of you, parts of your own potential.
Okay, so we've got these incredible inner powers. But how do we actually use them? You know, in the real world, day to day. Well, that brings us to maybe one of the most famous ideas from the Gita, the art of taking action in the world without getting all tangled up in the results.
This right here, this is the heart of what's called karma yoga. See, the source breaks it down like this. You have the right, even the responsibility, to act, but the results, the fruits of that action, nope. You have zero control over those. So the real trick is to go all in with your work, give it 100%, but mentally, you just let go of the outcome. Don't let your motivation be greed for a win or fear of a loss. That balanced state of mind, that
is yoga.
Okay, I know this next part might sound a little backward, but the book makes a really radical claim. It says that your inner space, the state you're in when you do something, is way more important than the action itself. It's not about what you do, it's about the consciousness behind it. That's what actually creates your reality. And there's this incredible story in the source that just drives this point home. So there's this monk, right? And every single day, he'd sit there and judge a prostitute who lived across the street. He was literally keeping a running list of all her sins in his head. Meanwhile, the prostitute was just going about her life, but in her mind, she was constantly thinking about the divine, about God. So when they both pass away, the messengers of God show up. And who do they take to heaven? The prostitute, because her inner space was pure. And the monk? His mind was so full of judgment and negativity, he was sent to hell. What a story, right? So how do we actually create that kind of powerful inner space for ourselves? The Gita's answer is, well, it's deep. It says the journey doesn't start with doing something, it starts with being something. It means we have to completely change how we see ourselves, right down to the core. The book explains that most of us make a huge mistake. We think we are our body, this temporary vehicle we're driving around in, or we think we are the nonstop chatter in our head, the mind. But that's all just the field, the stage where the action happens. Our real identity, who we really are, is the silent, calm awareness that's just watching it all, the knower of the field. When that mental chatter finally goes quiet, that's when you realize you're that timeless self. And what exactly is this self? The Gita describes it as something absolutely amazing, a deathless, eternal consciousness. Think about that. It was never born, it will never die, you can't cut it with a sword, you can't burn it with fire, you can't even dry it with the wind. It is the indestructible, universe-filling energy that is, at the very core, you. Now, this ancient idea might sound pretty out there, but what's fascinating is how it connects with some modern research mentioned in the book. It points to Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments, which seem to show that our thoughts can literally change the physical structure of water. Just look at these results. Water that was exposed to positive words, things like love and gratitude, it formed these absolutely beautiful, perfect, snowflake-like crystals. But the water that got hit with negative words, it formed these ugly, broken, messed up patterns. I mean, what a stunning visual for this core idea. Our inner state really does have the power to shape the physical world. And all of this, it leads us to the final, and maybe the most empowering message in the entire Gita. See, this whole thing isn't about struggling to become something you're not. It's about waking up to what you already are. You're not some sinner who needs to be saved. You're the divine, just playing a game of hide and seek with itself. So, what's the bottom line? It's this. We literally create the world we experience through the way we see it. There's a term in Vedic wisdom for this, drishti srishti. It means, as you see, so it is created. So if we're coming from that place of incompletion, fear, of doubt, well, we're going to build a world of struggle for ourselves. But if we make the choice to operate from that space of completion, from integrity, from authenticity, from responsibility, we create a totally different reality, one of power and bliss. The battle is inside you. The weapons are those inner powers we talked about. And the choice, well, that choice is and always will be yours.